So let's focus on getting this question answered. Then we'll move on to the presentation.
Okay, it's about no, it's not about the career for the women. It's about the for the youth, like
Sure,
the students who are pursuing
sure,
the FTC robotic challenge kind
sure,
of things.
sure,
So
sure.
if they want to do a career in AI, or if they are interested in learning in AI, so what is your advice for them, and what do you think? Like, do they have to engage with some groups, or is there anything that they can know do online, or as and when they have time they can go and learn and do it? So that is what I wanted to ask you.
Sure. So when it comes to students, actually, um, students have a different career path than what we are trying to pursue. So from the student side, it depends on, like, for example, in the morning, Shruti was talking. I heard that she's from UC. So UC is one of the top school, correct? Like, so based on whatever school they are in, I'm sure there are opportunities they can find to get into companies like Google or Facebook or any of those companies. Um, Especially, there are two ways to look at it. One is finding a job, being a subject matter expert. Finding a job, if they're from a good school, it will happen no matter what. It will happen, correct? I'm getting a bachelor's in computer science from UC Berkeley. That's a well-known school, correct? So people can find jobs easily. It may not be a bigger company, it could be a startup company. So in the space of artificial intelligence or a data science or a digital transformation, I'm very positive they can find a job if they're from a good school. The second aspect, I want to go more of a deeper and do subject matter experts, correct? I want to understand the subject. I really want to know more in-depth knowledge in certain aspects, correct? Such as being an entrepreneurial or build one applications, platform solutions. If you want to go on that path, then there is an extra effort required. That extra effort could be starting from learning and understanding how the overall model model engineering process works, which I'm going to cover in the session right now. Okay. So my response to your question, if the students are pursuing more towards become an employable resource in any of the companies, Google's or Facebook or any of those kind of top-notch companies, as well as the startup companies, I think that will happen based on where they're studying, what they're studying. Okay? So I'm very positive that will happen. I've seen this one. The second way to look at your question, I'm okay. I know I'm going to find a job, or I'm going to do my master's. I don't care at this point of my employment, but I really want to be in a good subject matter expert. So that is my role. Correct? I never say that I'm a VP or a director or a manager. No, I'm not interested in any of those roles. I always say I'm a deep subject matter expert. I know what I'm talking. I have like an exposure to a variety of technologies. So that's my area of interest. So if they want to be a subject matter expert, so I would say they can focus on starting and understanding model engineering, which involves model training, model testing, model validation, model analysis, model pipeline, and also in some capacity of building data pipeline and etc. So the starting point, I would say, for us college students or someone who's already in academic institutions, if they wanted to be a subject matter expert, so the best place to start working towards building model pipeline, model engineering. So that's my response. That's how I have seen myself.
Thank you, Jyoti.
All right, any other questions? Okay, so let's move on. So I'm just seeing the time. So maybe we can continue. We'll take a break at 12 o'clock, and then we will come back after lunch, after 30, 40 minutes or whatever, okay? So one other thing that what was asked me very heavily yesterday, even after the session, was more of an employment and entrepreneurship, okay? I would say more employment than an entrepreneurial. So what is the career transition path is going to look like? Where do I start? How do I go? Okay. So how and where to start? So these are the common questions I was asked yesterday. Okay. So I thought it would be beneficial. So before I go deep into machine learning and all the other areas, let's understand this and try to position you so that you can understand based on your current roles and responsibility, how you can transition yourself into the space. As we looked at yesterday, no matter what we think, what we do, okay, The world is going to lead towards AI. We have no power and control to limit that. As we talked cell phone story. So 10 years before, in 100 people, maybe 10% of the population had a cell phone. Now today, after 10 years, the 100 people have each one 3 or 4 cell phone. How does that possible? That's what market drives. So we have limited control. And the same thing going to happen in artificial intelligence. So if that happens, how do we transition? So that's the main focus. Let's understand. So what is the key core skill development area? I'm strictly talking about the core AI space, okay? I'm not talking about communication. I'm not talking about interpersonal skills. Those are all separate, okay? Like someone like Doctor who came and spoke, it's that area of expertise. I do speak, but that's not my area of expertise, correct? So the core area of development area for artificial intelligence, correct? 2 key areas, model pipeline, data pipeline, okay? So that is what the core development area. If you understand that really well, in whatever level you wanted to learn, that will take you or set you a career transition path. So what is model pipeline? What is data pipeline? Let's understand. So this is what you see, correct? From the problem statement to the end user solution, whatever you do, that's called model pipeline, okay? You may use several technologies, okay? I'm not talking technology. I'm talking about a pure process. When people talk about become an artificial intelligence subject matter expert, what is expected from you? You should know how to build model pipeline, how to build data pipeline. Those are the key core development areas, okay? So in that context, I already talked yesterday, you have to understand the business problem domain. So it starts from problem statement. From there, you identify what model you want to build, whether it's a machine learning or a deep learning, or depends on what kind of approach you want to take, right? So once you decide, then train the model, okay? Then test the model. When you test the model will produce an outcome. So that's a model outcome. Then validate the model outcome. If the model outcome is not meeting your expectation or is not the expected or desired results, then go for model analysis. Why it is not working? What could have been done differently? Is there any problem in the training data, etc., etc. So once you're done, then you fix the problem, then deploy. And that's an iterative process, okay? That's an iterative process. So that goes all the way to an end user solution. Let's take an example. So one of the work that currently I'm involved, it's basically trying to understand based on my daily revenue, correct? How much revenue I'm going to get by country, by region, by country, by state, by city, by location in 5 different areas. On top of it, by products and a SKU. So I want to look at my revenue in many different aspects. Based on my revenue, I want to dictate my accounts payable, pay this bill, don't pay this bill. And this happened because of COVID-19. Because of COVID-19, the revenue became unpredictable, okay? Unpredictable. So what is going on right now? Some segments are doing well, some is not doing well. We don't know what exactly the real situation is. So we want to build a predictive model which predicts daily revenue by region, by country, by state, by city, by location, also by product, also by SKU, and create a report and give it to the CFO office. So not only the daily revenue and also 6 days rolling forecast, how the revenue is going to look for 6 days. So in order for me to do that, I have to go through this entire step. Okay, I have a problem statement, I have a model to work on. So once the model is done, then I'm going to train the model, test the model, etc. So I go through this entire process. So this is a daily activity, an iterative process. So if you want to be a subject matter expert, if you want to, whatever role you want to play as a project manager, etc. So the key development one area is building model pipeline that involves the entire thing. All the 7 aspects to this is listed here. So you have to understand in whatever level you want to. The second core development area in artificial intelligence, data science, or digital transformation is data pipeline. Building data pipeline. For a given problem statement, the same problem that I told you, I wanted to get revenue as well as revenue forecast by worldwide, okay? Just not only United States, worldwide. region, North America, Latin America, Middle East Asia, correct? So how do we collect all this complex data? And how do we prepare the data, make sure the data is ready? And since data coming from different region, country, how do we integrate this one? Once I integrate, how do we validate? And how do we make the data available? And that's how it comes to the data pipeline here. Okay, the data pipeline here. So the second key aspect to become an artificial intelligence subject matter expert or in a data science or in a digital transformation person, focusing on data pipeline. So these are the key focused area to transition yourself into the space. Okay, so that is, again, it is a concept. What I'm saying, it's a concept. Let's dive deep. What technology is involved? Because that also matters. Okay, we cannot just learn a concept and go out and say, I'm a subject matter expert, I know how to do it. So now technology comes into picture. In order to implement model pipeline, data pipeline, there are several technologies involved. I'm talking the most commonly used or the technology that I'm currently working on. So I work extensively on Kubernetes and Kubeflow. What is Kubeflow? Kubeflow is model orchestration. So which allows you to build the entire pipeline, whatever I talked in the previous slide, okay? So this entire pipeline, the 7 pipeline, it's like a workflow, and that is what Kubeflow does, okay? So Kubeflow is open source. You can download and install, but it's not easy. It's just very painful. So you can work on this one. So the number one technology that I'm using right now, Kubeflow. So that is primarily for build the model pipeline. Second, we use, as you noticed yesterday, we use Anaconda. We use Jupyter Notebook. We use Python. We work on full scale cloud. So we work on AWS. We work on Amazon Cloud Services, correct? So we also work on Google Cloud Services, correct? So it depends on what kind of cloud that you are going to be involved. It's based on that you can choose. So the second, the model that what we are talking about, so that is basically, it's already available. Okay, in what form? It's available in the form of a library. So TensorFlow extension. So that's one of the library for used mainly for machine learning. TensorFlow, that's also another library used for both machine learning as well as deep learning. PyTorch, that's also another library that I could use for deep learning. Keras and OpenCV. Like this, a combination of technologies is going to work together. Okay, a combination of technologies work together. So it depends on your comfort zone. What do you want to do? Where do you want to do, etc. You could pick and choose some of these things. So you don't have to do all of them. I would say Kubeflow is must, Kubernetes must in my view. Other people may not think in the way what I think, correct? So these are all very commonly, widely used, correct? So not everybody is going to use, very commonly, widely used Kubeflow, Kubernetes. So you could focus on learning a little bit, understanding about what's Kubeflow, what's Kubernetes. And if you are really interested to build simple models, then you can start using Anaconda. So that's package manager. It has everything what you need. It has a built-in Jupyter Notebook, Python, a lot of library comes with that. Okay, so to build a simple model, such as I'm implementing a decision tree, or I'm implementing a random forest, or I'm implementing a neural net, or I'm implementing CNN, like this. So whatever model you want to implement, you can start somewhere. So that could be using Anaconda, Jupyter Notebook, Python, etc. That is one thing you can focus on. So let's say I wanted to really take one of my business problem, and I want to implement that using TensorFlow, then you can go for that. Okay, or I want to work on computer vision. We talked about yesterday, image recognition, facial recognition, human recognition, object detection, gender detection. How can I do? So you can use OpenCV, right? So like this, there are many different tools, technologies available. But if you're looking for a starting point, the starting point could be these areas, okay? Understanding each one of this and starting to work towards building simple model using Anaconda, Jupyter Notebook, Python, etc. If you want to work on a cloud, most of the cloud vendor already providing a trial account. So that could be for a month or so. It could vary based on how they're operating. So you can set up your cloud account, you can practice there. I would strongly encourage learn cloud as well, because that's where everything is going right now. So let's say I understand what it takes to become a model pipeline developer or a development lead or an architect or a project manager. So now I wanted to understand data pipeline. Okay, so if you are dealing with data, for learning purpose, you may not deal with enterprise systems. Okay. So if you are working on a real projects, if you are building a solution for an enterprise, so building small apps like a speech recognition or language translation, or building a small app like communication evaluation, those are all different aspects. I'm talking about solving real business problem. I'm talking about where the real need and growth. Okay, where the real need and growth. So how do we take something like whatever SAP is doing, Oracle doing, and transform that into artificial intelligence or data science, etc. So if you look at all company, okay, from opportunity perspective, all companies, right? No matter whether it's a small company, medium company, large company, all company are using reports and analytics. Okay, everybody. There is no one single company you say we don't have a report. They may not have right tools, but in some form, they're all using reports and analytics in a different level. There's a report for finance, there is a report for sales, there is a report for marketing, there is a report for HR. All of them are using different kind of reports. What is expected? Okay, what is expected? All these reports are going to move towards data science. Okay, there is no one single company in the world they're saying that we want to continue to invest their time, money, resource in their all existing BI reporting and analytics. Answer is no. Answer is no. All the existing BI reporting analytics must have to move to data science. It will happen no matter what. It will happen. Right? So the opportunities are good. I'm talking about how do we build such solutions, and that is when enterprise systems are coming. Right? Taking existing reports and transforming that into artificial intelligence. I told you yesterday, in a current existing report, you hardcode rules, you write SQL statement. Now that become inefficient. Now that become inefficient. Why? Since it's hard coded, you have to go back and make a change when change occurs, which we don't want to do. And that's the beauty of artificial intelligence. And that is why it's called self-learning. So how does it self-learn? It learns from the data. So if you get into that level, then you do have to understand enterprise systems. Okay, so I'm not saying always, you do have to understand enterprise systems. When you go to enterprise, most companies are using SAP, some companies are using Oracle, some could be Microsoft, some could be IBM, and others, we don't know what they are, correct? But at a higher level, you will be dealing with these kind of system when you're trying to build a data pipeline. Then you will some form working in a big data technology. In my case, I use Spark and Kafka. So the reason we are using Spark is for distributed data processing. When data comes in, it goes into multiple nodes to process them in a distributed level. And Kafka for live data streaming, as I was telling. So when a post, if you are posting something in YouTube or a Facebook or a Twitter, so we want to connect and read that immediately. So how do we connect and read? That's what Kafka does. Okay, we use Kafka. And Spark, I told you, for distributed data processing. And the Hadoop ecosystem is for storing massive large amount of data, And then IoT technologies. So IoT technologies for reading the sensor data, reading device level information, reading machine level information, right? So how can I read this one? So for example, the use case I was talking about, the patient length of stay. The patient length of stay involves patient clinical record, behavioral record, and lifestyle record, and then fitness record. So how do you connect to a fitness device to read? And how do you connect to like a lifestyle device to read? Like it could be an Apple Watch, or it could be Fitbit, or it could be any kind of like device that your wearables. How do you connect such device and read the data? That's where IoT comes into picture. Okay. So if you are trying to build data pipeline, okay, if you are trying to build a data pipeline, you will most likely interact with the enterprise system, big data technologies, IoT technologies. It's all based on the problem. It's all based on the complexity of the solution, what you're trying to provide, okay? So based on that, you could see different technologies working together, okay? Different technologies working together. So I'm just saying, this is 1 second. Why does my screen is doing this thing? Just a second. I am worried now. Let me stop and share this one more time. All right. So these are the different technologies we use in terms of like, building model pipeline, data pipeline. Okay. So I understand how or what it takes for me to become an AI based resource or a subject matter expert or whatever role you want to do. So the core focus is understanding model pipeline, data pipeline, what is involved, what is the technology involved. So now let's look at what's your current role, where you want it to be. So typically, if you're in a traditional software development, you may be a management person, or you may be a development team, or you may be a data team, or a testing and a support team. So if you see on the right-hand side, when you go to artificial intelligence, I have not seen such roles directly. It's like a one-to-one mapping, but I'm hoping in the future there will be something like that. So let's say if you're a management team in the traditional software engineering, either a project manager or a supervisor, a lead, or an architect, you could also aim for the same type of role in the AI space. Right now, it may not be that level because people are afraid, people are not ready to take a risk. And that's because there is limited resource who knows how it works at an enterprise level. At an academic level, there are so many people who can do this one. But when you throw them in front of an enterprise people solving real complex business problem, they may not know. So there could be an opportunity in the future. You become a subject matter expert or a resource or a manager, supervisor, lead, or architect in the same space on artificial intelligence. That's possible. The other roles such as analyst, programmer, software engineer, developer, so that will move into completely different role. Okay? So that will move into what I'm seeing. It could be a data scientist, it could be a model engineer, it could be a developer or AI engineer or AI scientist or a model machine learning engineer or machine learning scientist, something like that. So those roles, whatever role that right now we have in a development team, an analyst, programmer, software developer, and engineer, so that will move towards the model pipeline role. The team which works on database administration, ETL development, data model, so those teams could move towards data scientist, data engineer, data integration engineer, etc. Because we really don't do ETLs in the space of artificial intelligence. There's not much to do, like do a DBA activity when you have systems like Hadoop and etc. It is not like an Oracle database where we go and run this one. So I don't see there. So if you are in the space of data team, then you could aim for data scientist, data engineer, data integration engineers, etc. Correct. So those are the things that I think you could focus on. Correct. The last one, there's a lot of questions on testing. I'm a tester. How do we transition myself into this role, or what am I looking for? So as I told you, in my projects that what I'm working on right now, what I'm involved. So I don't have an explicit tester who can test this one. Testing is part of my job. Why? The testing needs a lot of, like I said, model, running the model, verifying and validating the model, and see how the model behaves, and go back and change the data and do something. So that's kind of an iterative process that I do. So I don't see roles exclusively for testing, but doesn't mean that it's not going to happen in the future. So it may or may not exist, but this is based on my current projects, my current work, what I'm doing, how it's been brought into, as a solution. Okay? So this is just a guideline. Don't take it what I'm saying is the right or wrong. So this is just a guideline, how I see myself, and based on my current projects and previous projects that I'm involved. Okay. All right. So the next one, what I want to do. So I wanted to make you understand how much time we are going to spend in each one of them. Okay. How much time we are going to spend in each one of them. So if you look at on the surface, the time you spend on data pipeline, it's quite significant. The time you spend on the data pipeline is quite significant. I would say in my projects, I would spend 50 to 60% of my time in data collection, data preparation, data integration, data validation, data provisioning. So that is where I spend my time, okay, in my current state. And how much time I'm spending on model pipeline? 20 to 30% of my time goes to this one. Okay, 20 to 30% of my time goes into this one, right? Model building, model training, model testing, model validation. And then I build the model deployment, model pipeline. That's about 10 to 50% of my time. And then the last one is the time that is spent it's spent on problem statement. Okay, so I have to remove this one. So let me remove this guy. So this is not required. The time it takes for me to formalize my problem and to working with the business users and etc. That's about 10 to 15%, 15 to 20% of my time. So this is just a guideline for you to understand where you will be spending more time. Are you going to spend more time on model? Are you going to spend more time on data? Are you going to spend more time on the actual technicality? So it's all matters. Okay, it's all matters. So this is just to give you an idea where you will be spending more time. Okay, where you will be spending more time. All right. Typically, the model validation performed by either by the model developer or a business user. Okay, the model validation is performed by either the person who's developing the model or a business users. So this is to tell you, when you talk about model validation, what exactly you do. So people ask me in testing, what is the testing in AI? Okay, what am I going to test in AI? what is that a tester role or a quality analyst role? It's going to be resides in AI space. So this is how I see. Okay, this is how I see. So what I see here actually. So okay, 1 second. I don't know why this is doing like this. Okay, so typically what I see here actually, if you are a tester, if you are trying to validate the model, so what you'll be look for, model accuracy, model confidence level, model feature weightage analysis. Okay, for example, so the model is supposed to predict whether the candidate is going to pass or fail. The model is supposed to predict whether the candidate is going to pass or fail. So if the model continue to perform and predicts the right, like an expected result, so that is going to be basically like the accuracy of the model is going to be very high, 90%, 100%, etc. So you see on the top, it starts from the model outcome. So when you test the model produces an outcome. So the produced outcome need to be verified. How do we verify? That's the model validation. So the model validation basically goes for a model accuracy. Accuracy is nothing but, does the model produce the expected outcome? Yes, it does. Okay, that means accuracy is very high, and it is not producing as expected. Then accuracy is low. So in the confidence level, the accuracy is high, but what's the confidence to say? So this is going to occur at a confidence level of 100%. Or at a confidence level of 99.9%. Correct? So this is where you get to know a little bit about the probability and statistics. But this is to tell you, based on model outcome, you run the model validation. During model validation, you check the accuracy of the model prediction, the accuracy of the expected outcome. So don't think it's always an prediction. It is not always going to be a prediction. It is something that you are expecting. The model is doing that. So that is model accuracy. Confidence level, when I say something, and what confidence level I'm saying this one. And the weightage. So what is the arriving state? Okay, what is the arriving state? So how do I say the student is going to be pass or fail? So what is the criteria? The criteria is nothing but weightage. That's because the student's been constantly getting A for the last 4 semesters. All assignments A, all quizzes A, and all attendance are A. So no behavioral issue. So those are all called feature. And the weightage, out of all the feature, which feature makes the model to be predict this one? So that is basically from the business perspective, business wanted to know this one. For some reason, if the model is not predicting what you're expecting, model is producing what you're expected to produce, then do analysis. So these are the kind of tasks I perform when I do model validation. So during model validation, I perform model accuracy test. I perform model confidence level. I perform model feature weightage. I do model analysis. Okay, that's a typical task. So now we look at data side. So what am I going to do? Data. Okay, what am I going to do with the data? So during data integration, you connect all different parts of data. Now I have to run the validation. So what is my data validation going to look for? Data completeness, data accuracy, data integrity, and validating training data, validating test data. Okay? So these are the kind of typical tasks I perform. So what is data completeness? So when I say completeness, for example, I am looking for a patient's information. So to run a predictive model, which predicts the patient length of stay, all right? So how do I know what data I need? So based on what I have seen in the model, so I have patient demographic information, and I have patient clinical record, and I have patient health record, I have medical record, and I have fitness record, I have lifestyle record, etc. So take all this one and see everything what you need is there. Okay, everything there, what is needed, whatever you need, it is there or not. Then the data accuracy. Okay, does it represent, if it's John means, does the data has John's information? Some cases, John's data may be mixed with Lisa, or John's data may be mixed with Mike. If that is the case, then there's a problem in data accuracy. Integrity, correct? So like this, I don't have to teach all these things. I'm sure you know this, correct? So these are all something that you are all very experienced. Under data validation, what am I expected to do? I'm expected to verify all these things. Okay, I'm expected to verify all these things. All right. So you are performing testing. The testing in this case, it is not called testing. It is called model validation, data validation. Under model validation, you perform model accuracy, confidence level, feature weightage, analysis. Under data validation, data completeness, accuracy, integrity, training data, test data. Okay, these are the things you do. All right. So the last point. Okay, the last point. So how do I get started? Okay, what is my starting point for the transition to AI? So if I were you, this is what I pick. I would pick any one of the industry what I want to specialize. Okay. So without industry, this has become very difficult to justify. Very difficult to justify. Like I said, wherever you go, the core development of this entire transition starts from model pipeline, data pipeline. If you look at both starts from a problem statement. Okay, both starts from a problem statement. Both starts from a problem statement. So understanding the problem statement is the key, and that is what the first one, business focus. Okay, so the number one, if I were you, I would focus on one or two business area. Obviously, I'm not here to master everything. I'm not going to master everything. I'm just going to focus on only one area, whether it could be retail or it could be consumer or it could be energy. It depends on whatever it is. I will pick one of those areas. So second, I do want to understand all the concept that what we talked about. Like I said, what is model training? What exactly is happening there? What is model testing? What is model outcome? What is model validation? How it works? And what is the connecting point? How it's connected each other? So I would say understand all the technology concepts. The third, I would focus on trying to get to know the technology that is used for each one of those. What is the technology required for model pipeline? What is the required technology for data pipeline? And how does architecturally looks like? I would understand that one. It depends on your interest. Then you go on to the next level, which is being hands-on. Okay, being hands-on. So if you wanted to do hands-on activity, then work towards developing these things. Okay, developing these things. So this is kind of gives you an idea if you are currently working in a traditional software engineer. Okay, a traditional software engineer. Okay, so based on whatever role you are playing. So if you are a traditional software engineer in any one of this role, if you want to transition to this one, and these are the points you should consider. So based on your interest, based on your goals and objective, you can take whatever way you want to take it, right? So option one, learn the business side. Learn the business side. Option two, understand the concept. It's really, really important for you to understand the concept. Second, understand what the technology is being used and how these technologies are working at a high level, architectural level. Third, if you still want to be a very hands-on person, want to code, then just build this to pipeline for one or two use cases. Then you can understand how it works end to end, how it works end to end. So this is the response to all the participants who asked me a question yesterday. There are so many questions asked. I thought it would be worth to put something together and explain to them because it's not easy to tell, do this and do that, correct? So we have to start from what is involved and we have to see where we are. And then we have to see where we wanted to go and how do we get there. I think that's what it is. All right. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, so two participants have a question. So let's bring them on. Can someone unmute them? We can't hear you. Indu, can you unmute them? I'm not sure what's going on.
Maybe you explained so well, nobody had questions.
I'm ready to move on, but I see there are 5 people raise their hands, 6 people now. So I don't want them to feel that I'm ignoring them.
Jyoti, we have few questions in the question answer session, I mean the section as well.
Okay.
Maybe I will unmute the people who want to ask.
Sure. So there's a question from Maitri. So she's saying, I have a question. And
yeah, I've allowed everyone to talk, so you can ask your questions.
yes, Geeta, what's your question here? Geeta saying, sir, as you are talking about ETL, no ETL role in AI, I want to understand how are the data extracted, loaded into AI from different data sources. Okay. All right. So Geeta, the ETL tool that I'm assuming either you were talking about Informatica or Business Object Data Integrator or any other tools like Microsoft tools, SSIS, all these kind of tools, correct? I hope that's the tool you're talking about, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So in typically what I use Spark. Okay. I use Spark and Python data frame. So I read data from different sources and store it in array. It's a NumPy. In Python, if you see, yesterday I was talking about, so I store in a Python array, it's a NumPy. Then I use Spark framework. So Spark is basically more of in a distributed data processing. I process them. So I don't use ETL process. I kind of use Python data frame and Spark, Kafka. So these kind of technologies I use. I don't use traditional ETL tools such as Informatica or SAP Business Objects Data Integrator or Oracle Data Warehousing tools or Microsoft SSIS packages. None of those tools I use. Okay, can you brief us more on Kubernetes? Do you use this initial stage of prototyping, model building? Answer is yes. So when you are building a prototype, the goal is to build, there are two aspects. One is prove the technology, that's a different thing. So you may not need Kubernetes. If you are in a process of building a large scale solution, but you want to start something simple, in that case, answer is you have to use Kubernetes. So that's the best way to transport and move those models from one environment to another environment, and it is easy to transportable, correct? So based on the real need of the business, if the business is looking for just to prove the solution, not worry about too much about scaling and etc., in that case, you may not need Kubernetes. So if you are really looking for the building an enterprise scale solution, in that case, answer is yes, you do use Kubernetes, you do use Kubeflows and etc. All right, any other questions?
Yeah, this is
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a quick question. So
Sure.
I'm from the telecom industry, right? So
Sure.
you were explaining about you created a model and helped the one of the telecom players to find the
Sure.
user churn and other things. So I was
Sure.
wondering. So I'm trying to transition into AI. I'm more a platform engineer,
Sure.
designing the modem and stuff.
Sure.
So the thing is, I want to understand whether you'd be able to create a product, using all the methodologies that you were explaining, and can that product be a common thing that could be adaptable to different players? Let's say you do something for Verizon, and can this product be a single entity that can be adapted towards AT&T's
Sure.
need or some other
Yes,
need?
I can answer the question. So if you look at yesterday, we talked about what we talked about, like, there are different type of intelligence we can build, okay? So the type of intelligence, what we talked about is narrow intelligence, general intelligence, and super intelligence, okay? So the question what you're asking about, I built one for Geo network. Can I take that one and deploy in Verizon? Or I build one for AT&T. Can I take that and deploy in Sprint? Is that possible? Right now, it's not possible. Why it is not possible? The way these architectures are done, it's very narrow focused. The underlying data structures are very specific to whoever you are working on. So the machine doesn't know the moment it change the data, correct? So it learns and understands the pattern in the data sets based on who the data provider. So what we want to do, we want to build a common model which understands data sets across the board. And that is what we call general intelligence. So to answer your question, the work that I have done, it's for predicting call drops, okay? Which call is going to drop. Second one, predicting product usage churn, that is data usage churn. So if a customer is using a specific data plan, if the data plan is going to basically churn out soon, so we don't want the customer to feel the data plan is already reached, they don't have much to spend. So before even reaching there, we want to sell them, upsell a plan. We want to upsell the plan. So that is basically one of the work that we have done. Usage churn, who's going to churn, when, why, how, and segment them, target market them, sell them, do a financial model. So by selling this new plan, how much money I'm going to make, what's the cost involved? We have to create everything on the fly. So that's the solution we built. So it's quite complex, quite intense, and it is not that easy. So this solution, as I explained yesterday, involves processing 150 terabytes of data in a day, correct? So dealing such a complex data sets, it's not easy. So the machine learns and understands from this one. So this data sets could be different when I move this one from AT&T to Verizon. So answer to your question, that is where industry wanted to go. Building generic model which goes across the board, because otherwise this is so ridiculous, correct? Building millions of dollars, and that it just works for only one company, it's useless. You take major software products. Oracle. Oracle doesn't design for only AT&T or a Verizon. It's common across the board. Okay. Select start from a table. That works everybody. Correct? That works for everybody. You don't have to worry about what you store inside the table. Okay. Select start from EMP. It gives record. So we want to build such models. So those models are called generic intelligence, which we are not there yet at this point. Did I answer your question?
Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, so this was the basic doubt that I had, because you're investing a lot of money and energy to design the system, and whether I'd be able to reuse that to a different customer is what.
So reusability can be looked at in two ways. One is reusing as an entire product, reusing the core framework. Okay, so the model could be reused. The model could be reused. The entire artifacts, whatever you build, correct, that could be reused. So only thing what you have to do, you have to retrain the model, retest the model, redeploy the model. That is the part it's going to be challenged. Okay, why you have to retrain, retest, redeploy? That's because the model is not understanding the data sets what you're bringing, new data sets what you're bringing, because the model never trained into that one. Okay, like example, I know how to read Tamil. I know how to speak Tamil. Just because I know reading Tamil, speaking Tamil doesn't mean I can read a Telugu magazine or I can speak Telugu. Right? Why? I'm not trained in Telugu. I'm not learned how to write and read in Telugu. So even though both are languages, but I don't understand. Do you get my points?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, got it. Yeah. Thank you
All
so
right.
much, sir. Yeah.
No worries. Any other questions?
Yeah, this is
Hi,
Venkatesh.
hi, Mr. Jyoti. I had two questions actually. This is
Only
Maitri.
two? It's only two, Maitri?
So sorry. Yeah, no, both are in fact interrelated. So to just answer to one of your slides where you talked about the starting point of AI. So you spoke briefly about various industries to essentially try to focus on, which is basically the business aspect, right? So in your level of expertise and with your this thing exposure for working across multiple clients, what are probably some of the most popular industries that are essentially looking at adopting AI-based tools and technologies in their solutions? And secondly, given that most of the industries are essentially have their own sets of challenges, be it in terms of data privacy and various other aspects, what are maybe some of the chief hurdles that one would see?
Sure.
And my second, I'm also a management consultant, and in fact, I've worked with PwC. So for someone with a non-technical background, I've been exposed to essentially take some of these AI solutions or analytics-based solutions to the market. So what are maybe some of the key aspects that I would need to focus on to essentially upskill myself in essentially taking some of these AI-based solutions to the market?
Sure.
Thanks.
So let's tackle one at a time. Okay, there's a lot of questions here, one at a time. So what industry that I should focus on, or which industry that's currently adopting or accepting artificial intelligence, correct? If that's the question. Yeah. So the answer to this question, so the adoption, readiness and adoption could be varies based on industry. Like you said, health could be more aware than compared to energy, or retail and consumer could be more awareness than oil and gas, correct? But ultimately, everybody will be there. Everybody will go there. So it's a question of நம்ம ஊர்ல சொல்லுவாங்க இல்ல பூனைக்கு மணி கட்டுறது யாருன்னு அது மாதிரி தான் ஆக்சுவலா. So it is just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. So I would suggest this way. So based on industry that you're working on, since you are from management consulting as Pricewaterhouse, so typically we all work in an industry base, because I worked on retail and consumer like Kraft Foods and Procter & Gamble, all these companies. So my industry focus was retail, energy, oil and gas, and health actually. Correct? So if you already have an industry practice such as any one of this one, I would suggest pick that one. So that would be the best fit, because you already know what industry that you are quite comfortable. So that it will be easy for you to understand. So that's my first response. Yeah. So second, in terms of challenges, are like in the starting point, where do I position myself to become so because these management consulting, they're not expecting you to go and code or build solutions or anything of that kind, correct? So that is sales and delivery. So when you are going on a sales and delivery, the sales and delivery is the first place before anyone come on board to the process, correct? So before you bring your team to the project or implementation, you have to be involved in the sales cycle. The sales cycle is more of confidence, correct? How do you gain a confidence in executive level, correct? So when you go on an executive level, they don't worry about like, how does Kubeflow work? How does Kubernetes work? How does Python works? None of those come into picture. So that's more of solutioning. That's more of a value creation. So that is more of like, what is the actual value that we're bringing to the table, correct? So I would say in that context, you can position more of understanding the concept, understanding the technology, ignore the last one, correct? So business, you already know what industry that you're going to focus on. So in that industry, then you can identify what kind of use cases industry already built or when you could build yourself. For example, take an example, retail. Okay, example, retail could be either Procter & Gamble or a Colgate or a Kraft Foods, these kind of companies. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you look at these kind of companies, what they do, their number one focus is basically understanding customer behavior. So what do you call that one? Customer sentiment, customer segmentation, target marketing, right? So market basket, omni-channel. So these are the some of the use cases that you could build. So understand that. Second, what the business benefit of having those use cases? And that's more of like, justification, why someone want to move to artificial intelligence by doing this one, what kind of cost benefit analysis, right? Increase productivity. So that's going to increase 50% of your productivity. And it's going to increase your efficiency by 30%. And it's going to reduce your cost by 20%. So put a strategy and roadmap together so that you can speak well. So then understand the concepts, because when you go to an executive level, you have to walk them through how it works. Correct? So when engagement, you start from understanding the problem statement. Then second is identifying data sets. The next is going for collecting the data sets and building the data pipeline, then the model training, etc. So concept is the next one. That based on what level you're going to go, people also drill you on a technology level. So my focus would be number one, business, number two, concepts, number three, technology at a high level to get started.
Sure. Thanks so much, Tuti.
No problem. Any other questions?
Yeah, Jyoti, this is Venkatesh here.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please go to the model versus data pipeline slide, please?
Sure.
So I understand that you are trying to show this slide mainly to show the two different areas where people have to focus on from a career perspective. Is that correct?
No, what I'm trying to say, the key area of development, skill development. Okay. So it's all coming down to Venkatesh, skill, correct? So as I told you, if someone asks me to read Telugu, I don't know. That's not my skill.
Right.
Okay. So if I don't have a skill, then I can't do anything about it. Either I have to learn or I have to do nothing about it. So here the question point is, these are all two skill development area to become an artificial intelligence or a data science or a digital transformation professional.
Got it.
The skill development area. So what is the skill we need? Like I said, I'm not a doctor where I can speak about communication skill. I do speak well, but I'm not a doctor who can specialize in communication. My area of focus is on, I want to be an artificial intelligence or a data science or in a digital transformation professional or a subject matter expert. How can I become that person? For that, what is the core skill development area? Model pipeline, data pipeline. What does that mean? That's what this is.
Okay. But truly, the problem statement is going to be the same for both, right?
Both the case, yes.
And also, just to make sure my understanding is correct, the output of the data pipeline is going to be feed into the model pipeline. Is that
That's right? So the data engineering data pipeline is providing data to the model. It's a constant pipeline. Okay. So it has to, if you see the actual architecture, system architecture, that what I had used for the telecom project that I was talking here. Okay. So this is basically, I'm hoping I have the slide. Yes, here. So you see this one from Kafka all the way to Tableau. Okay. It's a pipeline. It has two pipelines. There's a model pipeline. There's a data pipeline. So up to Spark, from Kafka, the source to Spark is one pipeline, data pipeline. From model to Tableau, that is basically where the end user will get to see. That's a second pipeline, which is model pipeline. So those are the two things I'm talking. I just put in a summary. I don't want to scare people.
This is excellent. This is exactly, it answers my question, Jyoti. Thank you so much. Because I come from a data integration background and also a business person who talk to the customers to understand the business statement. So I was trying to understand the connection, and thank you for clarifying that. That is
no
very
problem.
Thank you.
No worries.
Jyoti, this is Kasturi.
Yes, ma'am.
I have two-part question. The first one is you showed the churn model and how that is happening. So from a churn perspective, that's I come from a retail background.
Sure,
how do we put in the macroeconomic conditions like, for example, customers moving more towards the online platform rather than brick and mortar? In such cases, where do we bring in the macro conditions and how do we do the training of the models? That's my part one question. The second one is, how can we use AI and all this for one-to-one personalization and real-time messaging?
Sure. So I can answer both the question. The first question is like, you mix two things. One is basically like, in a customer experience and a churn, correct? So
yes, that's correct.
So the customer experience is different than a churn. So the churn is basically a customer is going to, let's say you have a loyalty program. Who are the customers going to leave me? So one of the current project that I'm working on, it's basically a customer churn. The customer churn, basically what I have to do, I have to create a model which runs and tells the customer, basically these 3% of your customers going to leave in next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Okay. That is basically who's going to churn, when they're going to churn. The next point is why they're going to churn. And then a justification. The justification is nothing but because of these reasons, they are going to churn. Okay, the top 5 reasons they're going to churn. It's up to the company going to prevent them. So that is the churn model. So that if you want to implement that kind of a model, then what is the underlying data you need? Depends on what kind of industry it is. What we are using right now. So number 1, customer invoice. Number 2, pricing. Number 3, customer products. Okay, number 4, customer feedback and sentiments. So, and also we use like, market condition, locations, correct? What market condition they are in. Let's say somebody is in Hawaii, okay? What are they going to do? So that is the market condition location. So we use all these data sets, run simple model such as random forest and logistic regression. So those 2 models gives them back basically what they needed in terms of who's going to churn, when they're going to churn, why they're going to churn, and what is the justification for the churn. So that is my first response. So I don't know what exactly you're looking for. The model we used, random forest, logistic regression, and we ran both the models. And these are the data sets we use. The second question, customer experience. So what is my customer experience going to look like? So that is what we did actually, an interactive digital dashboard, digital board. So what is the interactive digital board does? When a customer walks into a store, so through facial recognition, we can understand whether the customer is a new customer or an existing customer. If it is an existing customer, the moment we take the customer like face, we'll match them into CRM and see what the customer demographic. So based on the customer demographic, we understand the customer, we greet them. Okay. So the greeting could be on a cell phone, depends on what media they're coming through. So they can come through a cell phone, or they can come to the store, or they can come to a website based on many factors. Okay. So if we are able to get their images, we do personalized greetings. If they are coming through a channel where we can recognize who they are, then we will do a personalized greetings without an image, right? So that means the image will be presented in front of them. So that is more of increasing customer. Can you please keep your phone on mute? So that is to increase the customer experience across the different channels. So this is basically done using computer vision, natural language processing. So computer vision to facial recognition, take the face, detect the face, understand whether the new customer and existing customer. If it's a new customer, we greet them based on the gender, sir or madam. If it's an existing customer, we greet them based on their actual names that has been given. Then we can make recommendation. Hey, last time you bought this one, this time this is on a sale. Would you like to see this one? Or I know you like all these things. Would you like to see this one? Something like that. There is a personalized greetings. Okay. So there are 2 different models that I'm talking about. One is a model which allows to predict the churn and when, why. And the second one is a model which is going to let you know the increase in customer experience by personalizing the customer interaction and making recommendation and also offering promotions and discounts. Kasturi, is that helpful?
Yes, that is really helpful. Thank you, Jyoti. Thank you so much.
Okay, so what is the next question you asked for?
The one question I was asking was about how do you implement the macroeconomic conditions, right? What happens from a churn perspective? So that is what I was asking for, even like a COVID situation, because a general behavior-based, customer behavior-based model would not work in these cases. That was my second question.
Sure. All right. As long as if you're able to get it, that's fine. Thank you. So any other question before we move on?
I have, I'm Sugandhi here. I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Whatever, I'm coming from the agile background, right? So
Sure,
my
ma'am.
question is from that angle.
Sure,
So
ma'am.
whatever I'm seeing here, the flow and the swim lane and the data pipeline, data implementation. So whatever I'm seeing, like I'm like trying to, I'm like, actually I'm switching my hat from agile to waterfall. Like from my angle, I'm looking at it, it's a waterfall. Is
Sure.
that because I'm transitioning all the organization to agile so that we are incrementally developing, iterating it. So return on investment, seeing the value sooner, kind
Sure.
of, right?
Sure.
Is there a way to slice this model and the pipeline? Because it looks like it's a sequence of work, but I don't know if we can iterate this and then put it align in the agile way. Because when I do agile coaching, I wanted to add AI to it, not just
Sure.
take away all the agile practices I've done
Sure.
and switch to waterfalls.
Sure, ma'am. So answer to your question, these are all things will run in parallel, correct? These are all very powerful machines. You don't even see in a fraction of a second. So you may think that like typical software development, you collect requirement, you go for design, you go for build, you go for test, you got none. These all can run in parallel. Okay. These all can run in parallel. And these are all not a human-driven processes. It's all machine. It works by itself. Training, I'm not sitting and teaching a machine to read this and do that. Correct? So these process, like data pipeline, could run by itself. It's no connection between these two. Once the data is ready,
Are you eating anything? Sapad ready.
Mute yourself, people.
Please keep your phone in mute. Please keep your phone in mute. Okay, so answer to your question, ma'am, this is not a waterfall. Like, it's not a sequence that it has to happen. The data pipeline can happen by itself. No connection between these two. And then the model just will interface with the data pipeline, pull the data. And same for everything. So okay, everything is going to run in parallel in a different level. So, and third point to consider, these are all running in a very complex, powerful machine, high efficiency, powerful machines. Things are happening at a system level, not at a human level. The waterfall, what you are talking about, it's a process. This is not a process. This is how machine works, okay? So this is inside a machine, how these are all working together. Like if you look at in yesterday's program, one single program, it's everything built in together. So this is more, I would say, a technical implementation or a programming constructs than a process, what you're describing like Six Sigma or any of those things.
Okay, thank you. That helps. Like, I have another questions, branching question to this. Like, we are modeling, right? So first you have to model, kind of, right? So, is there something like modeling is iterative? Okay, so let me put it this way: is there a way to iterate? I know the infrastructure is doing and the system is doing, powerful machines are doing, but what's the timeline? Like, how am I delivering value? Like when I talk in terms of agile, I'm going to say that, like, hey, when we are adapting an AI, this is how you're going to see value in 2 iterations. How do I put that?
Sure. So if you look at the timeline, if you're talking about like how quickly a business can realize the value of this one, if that's what it is this going to take months and weeks and years? Answer is no. So we have to divide based on the work, what we are trying to do. We have to divide them into a quick value demonstration, correct? So what it takes for us to show business very quickly. So if I'm talking about building an intelligent automation, where a self-driving car, that will take 2 years to build something, okay? So I'm not going to build the entire self-driving car. I'm just going to show you how to do a lane change, okay? To build a simple lane change, you don't need to wait for the entire car to be built. Lane change could be a 2-month project we can quickly show. So like that, if you have a project, you can scope them in such a way that you could show some quick value, maybe in a month or 2 or so. So that is how the projects are structured. Otherwise, no one is going to buy in what you're talking about, correct? At this very early stage. So your project has to be scoped in such a way, something that has to be proven very quickly and business has to realize the value. For example, I'm building a self-driving autonomous car. That car manufacturing is going to 2 years. Obviously, no one is going to wait for 2 years to see this one. That's foolish. So what can I do? So one of the core functions of the car is lane change. So I'm going to show you in 2 months, how does the car change the lane? And that is proven. That is acceptable. Like this, you build them as small units and compile them together. And that is how I do.
Got it. That great. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Any other question? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have a question. So I'm in the field of energy efficiency, green building, and sustainability. Construction industry has been one of the last to embrace AI. In fact, in 2011, when I spoke about this, a lot of people in the room laughed because they said that this is not possible. So my question to you is, what is your opinion? Can AI solve large-scale problems like climate change and help us build resiliency?
Sure. Can you give me 1 minute? I'm just going to get some water.
Yeah, sure.
1 minute. Okay. So 1 minute. All right, I'm back now. So some of the work that I've done, it involves energy efficiency, energy benchmarking. And so what exactly we did, it's more of building a control system. In a commercial real estate, when there is no human movements, object movements, voice, then we take the control. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. There seems to be some other.
Yeah, everyone, please mute yourself because we have allowed you all to talk. That's why you are all unmuted. You can mute, do not forget to mute yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, so we build a control system, which basically using computer vision, understand in a commercial real estate building, there's 1,000 rooms in the building. So we can go each and every room, turn the lights on, heater on, energy on and off. So we build a control system, and those control systems are more for understanding any movements in a building. Then we are not going to do anything. If no movements, such as there's no voice, there's no human interaction, there's no animals, and nothing is there. In that case, we send an alert notification to the building owner. Hey, there's no one out there. Do you want to turn the lights on or heater on, etc. So that's part of the energy efficiency, energy benchmark program. So that was more of a research project that I was involved. I didn't fully work with them. So this is one of the work that I was doing with part of my Harvard Labs work. So answer to your question, yes, these are the use cases that I was involved in some form. Like, how do we prevent line losses? How do we increase energy efficiency, energy benchmarking? Correct? How do we create a building profile? Okay, so control systems and etc. So these are some of the work that I have done. So what exactly you are looking for?
So my question is more large scale, like how can AI solve like climate change? Because, this is something that is very important for our future as a human race. Agreed, Elon Musk wants to go to Mars, but this is what we have right now. So can AI do something? Have you worked on anything, or do you have those conversations with people about, how AI can help deaccelerate climate change?
I have not worked on these projects, but see, there are two ways to look at it. Okay? One is the human aspects. One is technological advancements. Okay, so the technological advancement is basically it's going to happen no matter what it is. The human side of the impact or the benefits of those will be realized in a different phases. Correct? And sometimes you realize very quickly. Sometimes it may take some time. Correct? So I have not involved any of those kind of projects, climate changes, but I'm sure there are people out there who's working on it. I'm sure there may be things around people are building on the climate change. So I'm not sure what they're doing, how they're doing, As needed, I can go out and find out, but I'm more focused on technological advancement and enterprise transformation. So that's the thing that I'm working on right now.
Okay, thank you, sir. I would really urge people like you to work on this project, if in whatever capacity. It would be a great help to
So
mankind, I think.
what is your view on this one? What is your view on this one?
I feel that, like you mentioned, right, there are two aspects to mitigating climate change. One is the human aspect, where we change our behavior, but then there's also the technological aspect, wherein just like how bias can be built into AI, you can build in this so-called bias into the system, so that people are naturally making choices. Like when you work for, let's say, a retail environment, or you work for any other environment, the packaging, the amount of packaging, the amount of energy that goes into building all these products, streamlining all that. So not just in one industry, but across many industries, looking into that and looking at the carbon footprint, looking at not just the cost aspect, but also how much it has costed to get this. And also making recycling. I mean, recycling right now is not very economically feasible, but with AI, it can become feasible, where robots are able to look and process materials at a faster rate than humans can, and they can learn intuitively, because now materials are complex right now. So even a human being cannot recognize, like a Tetra Pak is not actually paper, right? It's made of several different components. So just things like that, understanding that and making that process economically viable.
Sure. So if you look at, ma'am, as a societal impact, right? So if you look at our behavior, how it changed for the last 10 years. So for the last 10 years, the usage of Facebook or social media was very minimal, correct? 10 years before. Now it's so exponential growth, correct? Everybody have their social profile. Everybody want to use social media to share something, what they did, what they liked it, and etc. So what do you call this one? These are all behavioral changes. How did this happen? What is the driving force behind the scene? Can you tell me, ma'am, how people are adopting social media and how it changed the last 10 years? And what is the driving factor for people to go into this space?
Connectivity. It's the need for interacting with other people and validating your opinions and what you are. I think that is what causes people to feed into social media.
Do you think we have a control in this?
No.
Exactly. That's how I see AI too. Okay. It is going to be driven by market and technological advancements. So for example, if you see something bad in front of you, you took a picture. If you want to expose this not happen to anybody else, so what you do, you publish in social media. It goes across the world in a fraction of a second. So what is that technology? You take WhatsApp, how it globally connects, correct? There's no single app in the world. There is no single app in the world such extensively used to communicate at a layman level, correct? People who's working in construction back in India, who's selling things on the street, they're all having their own WhatsApp group. They are using the media to exchange information in whatever way they wanted to, sending pictures. They may not type English, but they can take a picture and send it to them, correct? So this kind of growth, not in any of our control. It's going to happen regardless of what it is, correct? Whatever control you put, whatever structure you put, it's going to go away. It's going to go. And that is what we call technological advancements, okay? Technological advancement. We know there are some of the apps does really bad things, okay? So such apps are people are willing to buy with billions of dollars, correct? Why? They know for sure that connects people to interact, that connects people to collaborate. Such apps are bought for billions of dollars. Is that in our control? No, it's not. So these are all technological advancements. So answer to your question, okay, how much impact AI is going to make in societal? How much impact AI is going to make on people, business, process, and technology? It is questionable. As a concept, we can talk about it. As a human, we can understand, we can feel for it, we can see it, but do we have a control at the moment? In my view, it is not. It is going to happen regardless of what it is, correct? Why? That's basically an advancement in technology which is needed by business. All right.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for
No
that
problem.
response. Bye.
All right.
Jyoti, this is Chitra. This is can you take this question?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sorry. Did I did scream before. I'm so sorry about that. I apologize to everyone.
No, sorry.
I didn't realize it was unmuted. So my question is, I come from auto finance and
Sure.
insurance industry.
Sure.
Can you share a simple use case? There is a hackathon event coming up in my
Sure.
company.
Sure.
I am like, you really did influence me with AI, and I'm thinking about presenting a small use case in that
Sure.
hackathon with AI.
Sure.
Do you have a simple use case that we
Yes.
can quickly code in 2 days?
No problem. I was with Ernst & Young, one of the large auto manufacturer. I can't use the name. It's in Detroit. So I was with them, and we did some of the work for them actually in the AI space work. So the work that what it is, analyzing work order. So basically what it is, when let's say you are buying, I'm just going to use a name, okay, BMW, okay, I'm just using a name. So this car goes for services, or this car goes for some kind of a repair. So they create a work order. So based on the work order, we want to find out how well the car is managed and what is the life cycle of the parts and the car, correct? So the work orders are basically, why is the challenge? Why did we use AI? That's because the work orders are created as a manual paper copy, okay? So somebody goes to a body shop, they write in a human handwritten, like in a description. They don't put a lot of details. They write something on handwritten. Okay, so we want to take those kind of work orders and use natural language processing, parse them from Word document or any document into an image to a text to a sentence to word. So we parse them. We understand what is written there and see what parts are heavily used and what parts are getting damaged and what parts we have to do manufacturing. So that is done for two reasons. One is manufacturing, second for forecasting. What parts I have to manufacture and how does my forecast is going to look in the manufacturing. Okay, in 6 months, I have to make this much. In 20 months, I have to make this much. So that is what's done by using natural language processing and some financial models. So answer is, so in order to dictate or inform the car manufacturers what part to be manufactured, in what region, how much, and what is the forecast, we use artificial intelligence, which is basically parts manufacturing and forecasting of auto industry. Would that helpful?
Yeah, yes, Jyoti, thank you so much. But this will be in favor of the manufacturer of the auto, right?
Yes.
I am glad you came to Detroit. I am from Detroit. So I am more into the auto finance, that like, it's like, the insurance where we do the claims to the insurance. So when the repair order comes in, I am in the industry where like we provide the insurance and they do the claims on the insurance.
Sure. So there are many things we could do. Fraud detection. Some cases it could be a false claim. So we can analyze that and come up with a fraud if there's any frauds involved. And also damage detection. So they will send us an image. Like for example, if a car is met an accident, so they send an image. You analyze and detect what is the damage of this image and what's the cost involved to prevent fixing those things. So maybe what we could do, we could take it offline. We can discuss and understand a little more. And certainly we can do that. I don't see that's a problem at all. There is more work we can do in automobile industry. So either you can call me after this or sometime next week, we can talk this through. We will come up with some use cases for the hackathon that you're going to conduct.
That's very generous of you, Jyoti. Thank you so much.
No problem. All right, any other questions?
Yeah, Jyoti, quick question.
Okay.
I would like to understand if there are any certifications which we can do and material if we can learn about the skill set that you have given us.
Okay, no problem. So certification materials, I will share my view. So there are certifications. The course that I taught at MIT was a certificate course. Okay, so you could take that course. It's about, I believe, I don't know how much the duration right now. It could be around 6-month course. But one thing I want you to understand, no matter what certificate you get, okay, whether the certificate from top schools, whether the certificate from average schools, it's ultimately your knowledge is the selling power. Okay, your knowledge is the selling power. The certificate is not going to be the selling power. But if you are in an Ivy League schools, okay, that could be a unique selling power. Let's say you have an MBA from Stanford. You are an MBA student at Stanford. So now Boston Consulting Group's coming there on a campus recruit people, correct? So they will hire people like who's coming from top schools. They will put in a training. Their expectation is not for you to go and build the AI model. They will want you to work on a strategy. So I'm just saying this certificate, what you're referring, there are such certificate exist. But in my industry view, based on what I've seen, what I've thought, these certificates may not help much in employment. When it comes to employment, when it comes to your subject matter expertise, when it comes to something that to test your knowledge, it's your own individuality. It's your own level of effort that is involved to learn something, correct? The certificate, it's not really going to speak by itself. That is my take. But if you still want to go ahead and get certified, we are ready to spend money. I'm sure easily it would cost more money, correct? Minimum $5,000 to $10,000, somewhere in that range. So if you want to go and get certified, I'm a certified AI professional, AI expert, whatever you want to call, I am sure there are rooms there, okay? But how much value that is going to give you when I apply for an employment, when I apply for something, that is not going to be the case. Why? The people who's going to hire you, they themselves don't know what it is, okay? So that's the kind of people you are going to interact, correct? So certificate, in my view, it doesn't have much value at this early stage. It is your individuality, it's your own skills, your own knowledge, your own expertise. It's what matters at this point.
Okay, any material which we can refer to learn more about the skills that you have explained us, Jyoti?
Sure. So it's an interdisciplinary study. As I told you, it is not just one subject that we are studying going to master it. Correct? So like I said, there are many interdisciplinary study. If you take big data, that's the ocean by itself. Okay. If you take IoT, that's by itself. If you take about data engineering, that's by itself. This is the interdisciplinary study. There is no one single textbook. So the book that what I am writing, it is more of a use case implementation. So there will be 2 use cases implemented end to end, from problem statement to actual solution deployment. So this is not something like, for example, in the past, Java, you can program Java. SAP, you can work on SAP. Oracle, you can work on Oracle. I know PeopleSoft, I know how to work in PeopleSoft, finance and HR and etc. You do this one. So here, it's very kind of interdisciplinary study. It's a many different area has to work together. If one doesn't work, then we don't get to see anything. You don't get to see anything. So either as a book or a resource, there's no one single source, it will be collection. So maybe at the end of the session, I will put my thoughts, like whatever I told you in the PowerPoint presentation. So here I listed out some of the things that you could do. So for example, I told about what are the things you can learn, so I put some technologies here. So I will send you some links. You could understand a little bit about each of this one on the model side. On the data science, also, there are some links I could send. But again, it's going to take some time for you to shape well, understand this well. But it's just a collection of several tools together.
Understood. So do you provide any live classroom sessions or online sessions on these topics?
Answer is yes, I'm working on it. I am in the process of doing that one actually, so it's not fully done. So probably it will take a month or something to do it. Answer is yes, I'm working on it.
Okay, thanks, Jyoti.
No problem. Any other questions?
Yeah, so one question here. Sorry. So you mentioned about some executive courses yesterday for folks in management, and is there any recommendation that you have in that regards?
So I believe this is what you are referring, correct? So what you're referring actually, the one that I was saying yesterday, correct? So the course that what I'm trying to offer, artificial intelligence for executive professional students, correct? So this is the course you're referring, correct? So this is the course I'm just talking about now. It's going to take at least 1 month for me to launch. I'm not ready yet. But if you wanted, I can get you a trial access. So this is our platform. So this will take you to our product LMS. And there is one course we already published, which is called Artificial Intelligence for Executives. So here you could understand we have unit 1, it's free, unit 2, unit 3. So we have all the units published here. Okay, so this is implementing a framework for all those things. And each unit, you see there's a learning topic. You can start your learning. So this will take you to the learning process. Okay, you can get started. So here it will give you what you study in this topic. Okay, the basics topic, whatever I covered, it's there. Not only that, it also has all the other things what you need. Okay, sorry, I closed that. So it gives you this one. So this is still under development, but this one course, if you're interested, this can be done. So here you can see industry use cases, working in the lab, and skill assessment, knowledge assessment. So this particular unit is ready. This course is ready. We can give. So I'm still working on it. We have not done fully. So once it's done, answer is yes. It's going to be available. Not offering too many courses. Only 3 courses, 3 programs, and each level each program at 3 levels.
Thank you.
So how can we get this, Jyoti? Once you're ready, we have to approach you.
Yeah. So you can approach me. So definitely you can approach me. We can take it from there.
Okay.
So you can also check our website and etc. So it will be there. All right.
Welcome, sir. Yeah, I have one question. I'm Kothai.
Yes,
I work in financial institution, and right now we are implementing. We have a data science team in India. We are heavily dependent on them to do the marketing and targeting our demographic, everything. My question to you is, they are doing good job. They are presenting, coming up with an model. Like suppose in your example, right? Mostly I see logistic regression.
Sure.
How do we know? I mean, it's not we are not trusting them, but we have no idea, right? If they are selecting the right model or not. We are just blindly going with them, and most of them seems to be very junior to this thing. What's your advice for us to when we are making a huge decision based on our team?
No problem, ma'am. Actually, the first point you said they're mostly using logistic regression. That I disagree. Okay. That should not be the case. That should not be the case. Logistic regression is like basically only a type of problem to be solved using logistic regression, not all type of problem. And logistic regression is the most simple, easy to implement model. It's not a complex model, correct? So logistic regression does not, you see this one? This is what I was talking about. You have a problem statement, which is basically financial model that we are talking about. I put logistic regression. That is because I want the audience to understand some basic they can do. Okay, so this financial model, basically what it does, it's an integrated financial model. So this allows you to choose the right plan. You have plan A, plan B, plan C, correct? Out of these plans, which plan is the best plan that I could sell, correct? So that is basically what I'm talking about. By doing this plan, I'm increasing my revenue by this much. I'm reducing my cost by this much. I'm increase my service quality. So this is how they have to prove you, correct? So point 1, it is not always logistic regression. Okay, so the reason why they are using logistic regression, there is 2 model: linear regression, logistic regression. Linear regression, true or false, yes or no, false or pass or fail. Okay, so the linear regression gives a range of values. Okay, linear regression gives a range of value. So I don't know exactly what the problem is. So point 1, they shouldn't be using all the time linear regression or logistic regression. Okay, they should be using different models. Point 2, they have to prove, correct, how the business values are justified. In my case, as I am talking about, my goal is to upsell. My goal is to upsell. When a customer is churning out, you have a cell phone. Your cell phone data plan is 2 GB. In the 15th day of the month, you are almost lost to 1.9 GB. You are left with 0.1 GB. The remaining 15 days, you cannot survive just with only 0.1 GB. I'm trying to sell a plan. I have plan A, B, and C. Which plan I can sell? And each plan has its own financial model. By selling this plan, I'm giving my revenue, increase my revenue 5%, cost is 3%. And plan B, revenue 3%, cost is 2%. Plan C, revenue 7%, cost is 1%. Which would be the best plan? So I have to come up with a financial justification. The model should tell. So based on whatever they are doing, what is the increased revenue? What is the reduced cost? What is the service quality, etc. So they have to prove this one. So if it is not simply running a model, it's meaningless, it's useless. It is just, again, learning process. It is not solving problem. Okay, so they have to come up with like whatever they are trying to do. If they are trying to predict something, if they're trying to discover something, they have to justify what it is. Is that
Thank you, sir. Yeah, definitely. That's why I'm also concerned, because we do not have expertise to go and understand, right? We see very common models all the time. So thank you for that.
So first of all, I would not be using a common model. That is just for you to understand. That is the most simple, easy model to implement. random forest, decision tree, logistic regression, linear regression, k-means clustering, KNN. So these models are most common, simple, easy to implement models. These are all falls under supervised, unsupervised reinforcement learnings. So it's very simple, easy to implement compared to other models.
Thank you, sir. Next question, right? Just here in general, if we go to our very good AI positions, if I just stop by a career center or recruiter, they always say, oh, we are looking for PhDs right now. So that discourages very much, like because it's the beginning thing. They feel like PhDs are important. But we cannot fill all the positions as PhDs, but right now recruiters, right? Oh, it's new to our company. We want only PhDs.
Sure.
What's your thought on that one?
Definitely, it's a good question. First of all, correct? It's a very good question. Very thoughtful insights behind this question. So this is what industry perception at this point. I don't have a PhD. Okay, I don't have a PhD. I'm not a doctor. I don't have a PhD, but I have industry experience. I have a degree from good schools. So I went to Stanford. I worked in other places and all. Right. So point is, what I'm saying actually, it's an industry perception. So what does that means? The people who's hiring, they themselves don't know who to hire, what to do. So they all think, since data science, the word science represents more of a scientist. Okay, the word data science, in the word data science, science represents more of a scientist. In the word of artificial intelligence, the artificial intelligence kind of representation of a research or more of a PhD kind of an approach. They don't see the real business need. Okay, they don't see the real business need. So what may happen, or what's going to happen when these people come on board, if you give them a problem to be solved, they have no idea how to approach and solve this problem from business context. So maybe 1 or 2 months, they will be thrown away. Okay, so that is the state everywhere across the board. So every company are thinking, we need PhDs. Okay, we need advanced degree holders who can do this one, who can understand this one. But that is just a industry perception. That's not a reality. Reality is different. Reality is different, correct? So all I would say, it will take some time, but industry will come back to you. Industry
Thank you,
will
sir. So I have extensive business experience. I feel exactly the same thing. They're more technical, but I want to utilize my business experience to work with them. But unfortunately, the doors are not opening yet.
Sure. So if you look at what we talked about yesterday, there are 4 key core competencies that we are talking about. So the PhD, all the people are falling under here, model skills. Okay, that's the only area they fall. So they have no idea about business. They have no idea about data. They have no idea about computing skills. Okay, so these skills are not taught in any PhD program, not taught in any advanced schools or any top schools, correct? So none of the schools are teaching, but the real world needs all 4 work together. So having PhD, they were solving only these problems. These 3 are unknown at this point. Okay, so you must have to have a business skill. You must have to have a data skills. But that's very simple example. Very simple example. How does a model learn? So in a PhD program, what those candidates are doing, what they are doing, they're studying and understanding models and algorithm. So in some form, someone have a PhD in mathematics or statistics. Somebody may have a PhD in computer science. Somebody have a PhD in physics. So what they do all along, they do all this theory, right? This concept, okay? So, but this concept solves one portion of it, okay? One portion of it. It doesn't go beyond this one. It doesn't go beyond this one. But when you go on a real world, when we are building a solution for making recommendation, what product a customer can buy, what product we can recommend for a customer, how long a patient can stay in a hospital, how soon the patient can be discharged. Solving these kind of complex problem, you have to have all 4 skills must have to work together. Having PhD, having advanced degree, having coming from top school, what you may have, number 3, which is modeling skill, understanding statistical modeling, understanding mathematical equations, building algorithm, that's all you do. You have no idea. Without number 2, this is useless, meaningless, it has no value, correct? And it takes some time for business to realize. That's because the hiring manager, people who's responsible for this in the company don't have any knowledge about this one. And that's what it is. So let me also tell you one thing. In the space of artificial intelligence, you don't have a lot of expertise, okay? You don't have a lot of expertise. Can you please mute your phone? Can you please? Yeah, you don't see a lot of expertise. And there is no one single person who would say, I know everything. Okay. So that's why I said, I never said I know everything. Okay. And I never said that I'm the one who knows everything, but I do better than anybody else. Okay. I can do better than anybody else. So that's my guts. So you don't find people who know all the things. You don't find one person who's known everything involved, anything involved here. So it's mix of all. So my response to your question, do you need PhD? Do you need advanced degree? In my view, no. Is that how industry looking at? I would say it's based on the hiring manager's view, a hiring manager's skills and knowledge and expertise. If the hiring manager don't know, they know. They will hire PhDs and do nothing, kick them out after 3 months, 6 months, because they don't understand all the other things that just goes along with this. Correct? It's not the model only is going to work by itself. You have to have everything working together. All right.
Sir, can I add one thing? I'm basically doing my PhD. I'm also having industry experience with around 18 years. And it depends on where basically what they want to explore, right? It's like for a basic use case, is it really a PhD need? No. Like, for example, if I need to do some kind of a model tuning, like hyperparameter tuning and all, and I want to basically make my model more adaptive, responsive at the edge. So based on the purpose and what kind of this AI is basically in a very premature stage, right? Like not like other technologies where it got more shaped at the academic and get into the industry for adaptation. This kind of like parallelly it's evolving. So the place where you need more deep, need a little bit of research. So that basically, as you said, that box 3 belongs to, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I would add to this further. Okay. The industry need right now, okay? Industry need, I'm talking about purely industry need. So some of the tool that already been deployed, like I told you, one of the tool that I am quite comfortable use the AWS SageMaker. If you use that tool, that hides all this complexity, hyperparameter tuning, model analysis, looking at what the model is doing internally, correct? Like, how the trees are constructed. You can dive deep into that level. So there are tools available. It is just a perception in industry, you have to have a PhD. I have a great respect for PhD because that's very advanced, higher level. It is in any education, any higher education, it needs a lot of discipline. It needs a lot of hard work. It needs a lot of commitment. I truly respect that. I truly value that. But the same token, is that what needed to solve real commercial problems in AI? Answer is no. Okay, the number one focus in AI, working on very large complex data set. Very large complex data set. If one PhD comes forward, if they say simply, I know how to deal with Kubernetes, how to deal with Kafka, how to connect LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, along with the SAP, I would die on the same day, correct? Why? That is not what you learn in PhD programs. And that is what needed. To make the model work, you have to provide training data. The training data spread across so many sources, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, SAP, Oracle, Microsoft. How in the world do you connect all? You take a simple customer. A customer can go to YouTube and post a video about your product and services. The same customer can also go to Facebook and post an image. The same customer also can record a voice and put a video voice in a Facebook. The same customer can do something in Twitter, where the customers are stored in CRM system. Where is the customer transaction in SAP Finance? How do you connect all the things? There's nothing talked about this at this magnitude in a PhD program, correct? So PhD program, more of systematic approach to arrive a state and do complex problem analysis. If a problem is so complex, how do we analyze and how do we break down into more of manageable work and solve this one? So that's the technique they teach. And these are all beyond those techniques, okay? Beyond those techniques. So in a simple way, what I see at this point, having PhD would definitely help in a team, but PhD alone is not going to solve all these problems together. So continue to focus and try to gain more skills. It will work in long run. That's my response.
Friends, we would want to stick to few questions only per session so that we can focus on Jyoti's instructions and other things that he has planned accordingly. So please type your questions in the Q&A, and whenever time permits, I will quickly ask him like yesterday, so that he would be focused more on his training session, and that would definitely benefit you. Believe me, he has so many things planned, and we don't want to lose the time. Thank you, Jyoti. I think it is time for your lunch, so you can decide accordingly, because you've been talking for long. I want to give you a break.
Yes, so let's take a break, and we will try to meet around 1:15. So we'll take a 45 minutes break. So we'll take a break, we'll come back. So right now I'm talking in Pacific time, it's 12:32. So we will meet 1:15 p.m. Pacific time.
All right, so the session will end, live session will end now. Thank you all. And then we will go live again in our San Francisco Bay Area Tamil Mandram channel after the lunch break. So that would be another session, afternoon session. Thank you all.
Sure. So once we come back from lunch, I really want to focus on the core machine learning part of it, like, which something that I would say really essential for you to understand. So this is a topic I'm going to focus on once we come back from lunch. It's really key critical part. So this is something that I really want you to understand. And I also have, and one of the use case that I'm currently working on, a time series data analysis, a planning, budgeting, forecasting function of using machine learning. Okay. So that's the topic we want to focus. So once you come back, we'll tackle this one. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.